All right, hi, this is Nick. Short introduction to calculus here. I want to talk about the concept of limits. So, a limit is just a formal way of taking something to an extreme. So, for example, if we look at the numbers 1 over x, we can plug in different values for x and we can see what 1 over x is equal to. So, we can make a table, and if x is 1, 1 over x is 1. If x is 2, 1 over x is 0.5. If x is 10, 1 over x is 0.1. If x is 1,000, 1 over x is 0.001. This is getting closer and closer to what? 1 1/2, 0.1, 1,000th, 1 millionth. This is getting closer to 0. As this gets bigger and bigger. So we can say the limit as x approaches a big number of 1 over x is 0. Okay, as x gets bigger and bigger, as x approaches a really, really big number, 1 over x gets closer and closer to 0. Well, for a big number, we use the symbol infinity. So we say the limit as x approaches infinity of 1 over x equals 0. But what about 2 over x? If x is 1, 2 over x is 2. If x is 2, 2 over x is 1. If x is 10, 2 over x is 0.2. If x is 1,000, 2 over x is 0.002. This looks like it's also approaching 0. And so the limit as x approaches a really big number of 2 over x is also 0. So we can write limit x approaches 0, 2 over x equals 0. And that can be kind of weird and confusing when you encounter it, but this is all it's doing. It's describing what happens as this number gets closer and closer to 0. Now we can do this in the other direction. Let's look at the function 1 over x as x gets bigger. So x could be 1, 10, 100, 1,000. Okay, so we can do this in the other direction as well. Let's look at what happens to 1 over x as x gets smaller. So x could be 1, it could be 0.1, 0.001, 0.000001, and so on. Well, 1 over 1 is 1, 1 over 0.1 is 10, 1 over 1,000th is 1,000, 1 over a millionth is a million, and so on. So the limit, right, our numbers are getting closer and closer to 0. The limit as x approaches 0 of 1 over x equals a really big number. Okay, in fact, it doesn't approach any particular number. It's bigger than a trillion. It's bigger than a skrillion. It's bigger than any number we can write, and that's what we use the symbol infinity for. So we can legally say the limit as x approaches 0 of 1 over x equals infinity. Alright, so let's look at a slightly more interesting example. Let's look at the limit as x approaches 0 of sine x over x. And we can make a table. We can show x, we can show sine of x, and then we can show sine of x over x. Now if we set x equal to 0, we know the sine of 0 is 0, and this is going to be 0 over 0. We can't do that. We're told we can't divide 0 by 0. So that's not going to be helpful. But let's pick values of x that are close to 0. So let's set x equal to 1, and I'm going to work in radians here. Sine of 1 is 0.841, and so 1 over the sine of that is going to be, or the sine of x over x is going to be and so the sine of x over x is going to be 0.841. Now let's set x equal to 0.5, and if I do the sine of 0.5, I get 0.479, and if I take that and I divide it by 0.5, I get 0.958. And if I set x equal to 0.1, the sine of that is 0.0998. And if I divide that by 0.1, I get 0.9983. And if I set x equal to 0.01, and I take its sine, and I divide that by 0.01, I get 0.999983333. So there's a pattern here. X is approaching 0, and sine x over x looks like it's approaching 1. And that does in fact turn out to be the case, and so we can actually say the limit as x approaches 0 of this fraction is 1. And that's a really powerful limit. And it's not something we can do just by looking at values, okay, because something strange could happen when we get to 0.001. This function might totally change its behavior. But mathematically, we can show that this limit is actually equal to 1. But the intuition behind it is just taking things to extreme. Let's just start with this, and let's see what happens as x approaches 0. And we can see by plugging in numbers that sine x over x seems to be approaching 1. Okay, so the mathematics of limits, the epsilons, deltas, all of that, is simply a way to formally show that this is what's happening. All right, that's one quick view of limits.